All right, that's fine. All right, let's start the Measure G1 meeting today, March 11th, 2025. Mr. Hollis, can we have call this meeting to order? Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. On the roll call for the Measure G1 Commission meeting for March 11th, 2025. Commissioner Riley,
Present.
Commissioner Mesa,
Present.
Secretary Chan,
Present.
Chair Chun.
Here.
Quorum present.
Mr. Hollis, proceed to the first order of business, which would be the election of our nomination for our vice chair. Unfortunately, Commissioner Martinez had to resign his position here. So should open the floor to any nominations? Self-nominate? Any takers among the commissioners here?
If I can just throw out a little tidbit real quick.
Sure.
The commission is not official, it cannot start its business unless all positions are filled. So we can't move until we have a vice chair in the seat.
Sure.
And the role of the vice chair really is just to mostly just to fill in when the chair's not here. So that's the bulk of the duties.
I will self-nominate myself.
I second the nomination.
Do we have any other nominations? All right, I think we can proceed with the election.
So, it's a couple of things. So, on the nomination, since it is now closed, Commissioner Riley, would you like to give up to a 2-minute speech?
Can I pass on that?
You can.
I will pass, thank you.
There are no public commenters for the nominations of the vice chair, so go ahead and move forward to the election, Chair.
All right, move forward towards the election. Can we have a vote, please?
Right, so for the record, there are no public members signed up to speak on this item. And since there is only one person selected as the vice chair, you can just say yea or nay to that nomination. Shall Terrence Riley be elected the vice chairperson for Measure G1 District-Wide Teacher Retention and Middle School Improvement Act Oversight Commission for the 2024 unexpired term? Commissioner Riley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mesa?
Aye.
Secretary Chen?
Aye.
Chair Chun?
Aye.
Terrence Riley, you are the vice chair for the unexpired 2024 term.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Just wondering, are we gonna fill Christian's spot?
Oh, well, our liaison is here. Director Thompson can be, I guess, relayed to the board so that they can look for persons to fill the seat.
Congratulations, Commissioner Riley. Chair. Moving on to any speaker request cards, modifications to the agenda. No modifications? Then let's proceed to the adoption of the commission minutes from last meeting, February 10th, 2025. Mr. Hollis, I have to make a motion to bring this to the floor?
Yes, a motion is needed.
Motion to bring the commission minutes to the floor.
I motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. Motion's brought to the floor.
Yes, so, is there any discussion on the minutes, Chair?
No discussion needed.
For the record, there's no public members signed up to speak on this item. Would you like me to proceed with the vote, Chair?
Yes, sir.
On the motion to approve the February 10th, 2025 Measure G1 Commission meeting minutes. Commissioner Mesa,
Aye.
Secretary Chan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Chun.
Approve.
Minutes are approved.
Thank you, Mr. Hollis. Proceeding now to the adoption of the Commission General Consents Report. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Commissioners, as far as the Commission Report General Consensus, is there anyone that needs to pull an application? For discussion, but first, is there anything to, sorry. Is there any, are there any reports to pull? I myself would want to pull, just for a clarifying question, item 25-0601, Aspire Golden State College Prep. That's all I need to pull. Any commissioners need to pull any other reports?
Yeah, there's 3 more that I would like to pull. 250599. Uh, 250614. And 250615.
Vice Chair Riley, is there any other reports need to be pulled? Mr. Hollis, I think we can proceed to a vote on the non-pulled items.
All right, so this is the adoption of the Commission General Consent Report minus F.-1 250599, Ames College Preparatory Middle School, F.-3 250601, Aspire Golden State College Preparatory Academy, F.-5 250614, Bay Area Technology School, and F.-6 250615, Community School for Creative Education. Is that correct?
That is correct.
On the motion to adopt the general consent report minus the items named. Commissioner,
move.
Commissioner Mesa,
Aye.
Secretary Chan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Chun.
Approve?
The general consent report is approved. And Chair, would you mind if I just call out for the record the items that were just approved?
Go ahead.
The items that were just adopted from the general consent reports, F.-2 250600, American Indian Public Charter School, F.-4 250602, Aspire Lionel Wilson College Preparatory Academy, F.-7 250616, East Bay Innovative Academy, F.-8 250617 Edna Brewer Middle School. F.-9 250618 Elmhurst United Middle School. F.-10 250619 Francophone Charter School. F.-11 250620 Frick United Middle Academy of Language. F.-12 250624 Hillcrest Elementary School. F.-13 250625 Knowledge is Power Program, Kip Bridge Academy. F.-14 250626 Life Academy. F.-15 250627 Lighthouse Community Charter School. F.-16 250628 Load House, a Lighthouse Community Charter Public School. F.-17 250629 Madison Park Academy. F.-18 250630 Oakland Military Institute College Preparatory Academy. F.-19 250631 Oakland School for the Arts. And F.-20 250632 Sojourner Truth Independent Study. Those are all the items that were approved.
Mr. Hollis, Vice Chair Riley, would you like to lead the discussion on the first item, 250599, Ames College Prep application?
Yeah, do we have anyone from the school online?
Karen Lozano, is there anyone online for Ames College Preparatory Middle School?
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, it looks like we have Mr. Wooten here.
Chair, would you like me to promote them to panelists?
Please do.
And we would need a motion on the floor to discuss this item.
Motion to discuss this item?
Or should I say a motion to approve, not necessarily to discuss? Because it has to be on the floor to discuss, so you can't put it on the floor for discussion. It has to be on the floor as an approval, which could be like voted up or down.
Can we have that after the discussion? Approval or not?
It should be on the floor to discuss. So, I mean, if in the end y'all decide that y'all don't necessarily want to approve this item, you can postpone it. You can do many other things, but it has to be on the floor as an approval to discuss.
All right, then let's put it on the, do I have a motion to put this on?
I motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Wooten. I just had two clarifying questions around the $10,000 for the art and music field trips, and just wondering, has there been any consideration into the planning of that? And will that be multiple field trips or just one field trip? And then looking also for more clarification around World Culture Day and what that day consists of.
Yeah, so the field trip will definitely be more than one field trip. It'll service our Spanish class, and we'll also have a Mandarin class that will utilize those field trips, the funds for those field trips. And what is your question for the World Culture Day?
Just can you tell me what it consists of, what that day is about?
So World Culture Day is the day where we invite our middle school to participate, and typically where we just bring different cultures that our school encompasses. We bring them together, and we have dancers, we have speakers, we have artists, we have dancers, performers, we have different shows of community and different cultures that our school encompasses, and we bring them all together for a day of learning. And family and friends are typically invited to participate.
Yeah, do you have a rough idea of how many people do you think will attend that event? Have you done it in the past?
Yeah, we done in the past. Last year, I believe we had between maybe like between 90 and 120. I think it was probably a little bit more.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my questions were really just around the cost for those two events. Seeing as they're one-day event, it seems a little high, but I think it's still within the frame of the events and what they'll have. So I'm moving on.
Are there any other questions? Nope. All right. Mr. Hollis, I think we can proceed to 250601. Do we need to have a motion to bring each of these to the floor individually?
Yes, unless there was a request to take them all together, but it's probably best to take them individually. And I don't know if I stated for the record, but for the adoption of the general consent report, there are no public commenters for that item. And for this one, since it came off the general consent report, doesn't need public comment. So proceed with the vote, Chair.
All right, let's proceed with the vote.
Right, so on the motion to approve F.-1250599, the G1 application for Ames College Preparatory Middle School, Commissioner Mesa.
Approve.
Secretary Chan,
Approve.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
and Chair Chun.
Approve.
Is approved.
Mr. Hollis, now for item 250601, Aspire Golden State Prep Academy. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor for approval?
I move.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is Aspire Golden State Prep Academy's application. Do we have anyone from the school that's on the call, Mr. Hollis?
Ms. Lozano?
Yes, we have Dr. Dolores Brown.
Promote them to panelist chair.
Yes, sir.
Hand raised. They are promoted.
I have just one clarifying question. The middle school dean of students position, is this an additive position, something that Aspire Golden Gate is it a new position to aid with your existing dean of students? That was just a question that I had based on the wording of the proposal. I'm assuming it is, but I just wanted to clarify that that is indeed the case.
Good evening. Thank you for the question. This is a position, I wouldn't say that it's a new position, but for the past 2 years, we've had a middle school dean of students. Last year, our middle school dean of students, like abruptly right before the school year started, transitioned out of Aspire. So we just wanted to make sure we had funding and allocated funds for that role for next school year.
Okay, was that position the previous student support manager? That's what was approved for this past year.
Yes, because of the abrupt transition, the Measure G fund supported our SSM. So for next school year, it will be a actual dean, not just a student support manager position, but an actual dean of students for specifically middle school.
Understood. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question around it. Just looking at the chronic absenteeism and suspensions, they seem to be up across the board. And I'm curious if that's related to the abrupt dean leaving, and do you think that some of that should be solved next year when you have a full-time dean?
Yes, I think with the middle school dean, we're able to provide more behavior support and proactive measures instead of just reactionary as this year. But according to our California dashboard, our suspension rate has decreased from the previous year. So 2024, we did see a decrease in suspension rates, and we want to continue in that trajectory for this school year and the upcoming school year.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, commissioners? Mr. Hollis, I think we could proceed to a vote.
Yes, Chair. On the motion to approve a G1 application for Aspire Golden State College Preparatory Academy, Commissioner Mesa,
Approve.
Secretary Chan,
Approve.
Vice Chair Riley,
Approve.
Chair Chun.
Approve. Mr.
Thank
Hollis,
you all so much. Sorry. Thank you.
thank you for your presence here. Moving on to item 250614. Bay Area Tech. A motion to bring this for approval.
I move.
Second.
I second.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from Bay Area Tech on the call, Ms. Lozano?
Yes, we have Gail Williams here.
Charles, can you promote
Yes.
Williams?
Good evening.
Hi, I just had a clarifying question. Again, it looks like chronic absenteeism and school suspensions are up slightly, but I see that the proposal is for a middle school counselor. Is this a new position or a current position? And again, do you think that will the counselor be used to help with those numbers?
Absolutely. So the position itself is new. It's to supplement our current existing school counselor that serves all of our students in 6 through 12. That also provides our services. So we're noticing, particularly at the middle school, a need for more targeted intervention, restorative practices. So this middle school counselor would be able to help support with that.
I had a question. I see that you are expanding the symbolic programming from 8th grade to 6th. I was just curious why 6th instead of 7th, and if you would plan to, depending on budgeting, expand it to 7th as well in the future.
Yeah, I mean, certainly as much as we can include all of our middle school students in that program, because again, it supports with social emotional learning, incorporating restorative practices, team building. So the goal at this point is to at least have 8th grade and our 6th grades involved, particularly because as 6th grades transition in from various different schools, we've noticed just more conflicts at that grade level as students get to know one another and integrate into the school community. And then as 8th graders, we just had an uptick in particularly conflicts arising on social media that transfer into school and a need for greater support there.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Very much. I think we can proceed to a vote, Mr. Hollis.
Yes, Chair. And just for clarity of the record, in regards to answers to a motion, it would be either yay, nay, yes, no, abstain, or recuse. And out there. So on the motion to approve the Bay Area Technology School G1 application, Commissioner Mesa,
Yay.
Secretary Chan,
Yay.
Vice Chair Riley,
Yay.
and Chair Chan.
Yay.
Approved.
Thank you. Now proceeding to item 250615. For creative education. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I move.
I second.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the Community School for Creative Education on the call, Ms. Lozano?
Yes, we have Miss Anna Barraza.
So I brought this to the floor, but upon further investigation, I don't have any discussion around it.
All right, then, can we proceed to a vote, Mr. Hollis?
Yes, we can. On the motion to approve the G1 application for Community School for Creative Education, Commissioner Mesa,
Yay.
Secretary Chan,
Yay.
Vice Chair Riley,
Yay.
Chair Chan.
Yay.
Item is approved.
Thank you all for being present for this call. Now proceeding to new business. Looks like there is a audit report from Ed Bailey. Do I have a? This is not a voting item. I need a motion to bring this to the floor. Do I?
It's not a voting item.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, commissioners, Director Thomas, good afternoon. My name is Nathan Edelman with Ide Bailey. I am the independent external auditor, and you have in your packet, it's the compliance audit for G1. It's a fiscal year ending June 30, 2024. Let me just, I'll give you a 10,000-foot executive overview about really the scope of the audit and the results of the audit. Do I have a clicker? Okay, you are my clicker. Next slide, please. The scope of the audit, really, first thing I just is to understand, auditors are asking questions, we look at documents, and then our job is to really it's report back the results of the audit. But it is the district. You have Karen Lozano, you have the folks on the district side that actually have to do the work. They have to ensure that the funds are used appropriately. They have to support the audit, set up internal controls. They are also responsible for compliance. If there's findings, they're responsible for correcting them. I kind of look at these commissions. You're almost as little auditors as well. You have a role in this. The middle school grants that we just saw today. I mean, you're asking questions and kind of one layer and many layers of which you have a role. The district folks have a role. Auditors have a role, but at the end of the day, our job is to just simply report back. Next slide, please. Timing. A lot of things happen throughout the year. There's planning at the beginning of the year, but June 30th is the cutoff date for the end of the fiscal year. District closes the books. There's accruals. They they do a lot of things that, not so much related to the parcel tax compliance, but preparing for the larger district audit. We come in, field work for this audit actually happened, I want to say it was actually finished by around Halloween, if I remember correct, which is very good, much earlier than historical, which is really good. But this report was issued as in finished and complete by December 15th, so it was lined up with the district's annual financial audit. And all of these California school districts, December 15th of each year is kind of I guess the statutory deadline to finish these audits and submit these things to the state. Next slide, please. Probably the more important slide, what's most relevant to you. The actual, our actual audit report is in the packet, and there's a page that has the firm's letterhead, and it has a couple pages talks about compliance and the auditor's responsibility, management's responsibility. There's a few pages that follows that gives a little color, provides a little more information about what did we do to reach that compliance opinion. All of that is summarized on this slide here. But what we did, you can think of the G1 accounting records have its own little, I call them a fund, but its own little segregated cost center within the larger financial system of the district. We take those G1 accounting records and kind of a bit of a simplification, but shake them all up, pick random samples, and it's make sure that those samples, one, tie out to actual source documents. So if it's a payroll transaction, we need to make sure with HR documents, payroll documents, but make sure this is an actual person working in the district, make sure that the pay rate is correct. If it's a vendor transaction, there's contracts, there's purchase orders, there's invoices, but it's get the source documents, one, to just validate that the dollar amount recorded in the accounting records is correct, and then also look at what is being spent. Does that line up with the allowable uses for the parcel tax? Because as you know probably better than most others, it's restricted, it's limited in what these things can be spent on. You have the actual G1 legislation itself, you have the actual ballot. You also have these, I probably call them something different, but the grant applications that you're just approving today. So we want to make sure that the expenditure, not only does it line up with what's allowable for G1, but we get those grant applications and make sure that the expenditure lines up with what was ultimately approved. Yeah, Measure G1 also has an administrative cost limitations, 1%. So there's a calculation that the district actually has to go through. They need to be tracking this thing, to ensure compliance. We get their calculations. We do, you can think of our own independent calculation, compare the two, but make sure that the district has complied with the administrative cost limitation. G1 has that 65-35% split between the middle school grants and the salary component. There's a recalculation very similar to how the administrative cost works, but get the district's recalculation, make sure that that was done correctly. And then finally, kind of, you can think of along with all of these things, we care about internal controls because the audit can only pick a sample. It's really not feasible, not practical for an auditor or anyone to examine 100% of the transactions. So you also care about internal controls, as in there should be, and there is a process to review these things. Like I kind of mentioned, that starts here almost with the commission, but people have to be looking at these things and saying, yes, this is allowable. This has something that should be paid for by G1 before it's actually paid. And so there's control processes on the district side, and we just want to look to ensure that those are actually happening. And so if it's with expenditures, we want to see that there is a purchase order, it has all the approvals of the right people before transactions were approved and ultimately paid out. So with that, next slide, please. Results of the audit. Kind of two big takeaways. One, opinion on compliance, and this is where if we saw if we see transactions that are incompatible or not allowable for G1, they would be called out here in item number 1. It could also be that something is, because we looked at those middle school grant, we look at the grant applications. So if there is something that was could be allowable for G1, but it became more narrowly, or what is allowable is a little more narrowly defined because of these grant applications. If there's a difference that is identified through the audit, that would get called out here as well. And then number 2 is about internal control deficiencies, as in we may see a transaction that is completely allowable, totally okay, no problems. But if it didn't go through the control process, if it just happened to be allowable, if it somehow skipped those internal controls, that would be called out as well. And that's important because, as I said, there's an expectation that the controls are working because nobody can look at everything. And so the district has to go through a process, which they are. That's the results of the audit. And with that, I'll just kind of one last thing. That is the expected outcome of the audit. It is expected that there are no control deficiencies. It is expected that there's no compliance findings. That is not the given outcome of the audit, as in there have been times in the past, and I get mixed up with all the letters between all the parcel taxes, so I don't remember G1 specifically, but there have been audit findings in the past with Oakland with the parcel taxes. Some of them have simply been, people just haven't given us the information that we need. Things haven't been given timely. They've resulted in delays. None of that applicable here. So actually, when I mentioned that we finished the audit around Halloween, that is very good, kind of end of October. That lines up with the expected regular field work for the district. If you go back a few years, I think I was standing here maybe a couple years after the end of the fiscal year, quite a bit later. And so having the audit on time at the expected time is also an indicator that everything went just as you would expect. As you know, we ask, we get, and we can move on, because the audit really shouldn't be very exciting or very dramatic. So really with that, I'll turn over to the commissioners. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer as best I can.
Any of the commissioners have any questions?
This is probably more of a question for Cliff, and you may not have the answer either. Just looking at the financial schedules and seeing that more taxes were expended than received, and just curious, like, how does that happen, and is there a makeup for that at some other time?
I'm going to assume that the added expenditures was because we, up until this year, were allocating additional dollars from surplus that we had. And again, we're changing up our structure this year, which I'll report back to this commission maybe in about a month or so.
Mr. Elman, I have one quick question. I know you don't audit every single school, but in the process of your auditing, because I know we have several schools that are K-8 or 6-12, but G1 is specifically for the 6-8 middle school range. When there are positions that are funded by G1 or programs that are funded by G1, would your audit include ensuring that those positions, the funds that were expended, are used exclusively for 6-8?
Yeah, so yes, understanding the types of things that we will look at and kind of the information it's somewhat limited to paper to documents. And so if we're looking at, if it's a middle school, it's a little easier if they only have those 3 grades. There's quite a bit of schools that maybe K through 8. And as long as the expense, if it lines up with what's on the grant application, if the expense lines up with what's allowable for Measure G1, then that's something that we would say, yes, it's compatible. It certainly is the case. Maybe something was completely intended for grades 6 to 8, and it was used for kindergarten. It'd be very hard to go beyond really what's within the pieces of paper. But that's also why the internal controls are important, because people who are reviewing these things are people that are much more familiar with what is going on, and they have those relationships with the schools. And so when someone is signing off stating that, yes, I understand this and I approve it, there's an expectation that they did understand it, and from talking with everybody, people take that seriously. So I don't have any concerns about that myself. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Ellerman.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And there's no public comments for this item, Chair.
Proceed to the next item, 250640, middle school debriefings for site visits. Quite a few here. I don't know how we want to handle this. Mr. Hollis, do you want to just run through them? See whoever has reports for them?
That can work. Let's go down the list and.
Right.
You want me to call the list?
Okay, I can call the list. October 3rd, 2024, Community School for Creative Education. Does anyone have a report for that?
Yes, I conducted a site visit on October 3rd with Community Schools for Creative Education. I was met with the principal or director of school, and I was able to see how the funds are allocated in 2 areas for middle school students for art. And it seems like it was aligned with the mission of and intention of the G1 or Measure G1 of how they were utilizing the funds. I was impressed with the way that the art class was set up, which I feel like is uniquely designed for that specific school, since they are a Waldorf school, which does focus a lot on kind of art and arts integration. And so I was impressed with the level of adult to student ratio that they had. They had volunteers there with the art teacher, who's the person that is paid through the funds. And so I felt like it was a great opportunity to see. It was my first site visit, so it was a great opportunity to see the actual Measure G1 funds in action.
Thank you, Commissioner Mesa. How about Oakland Military Institute from October 7th?
Yes, that was also
Okay, there you go.
also me. On October 7th, I did a site visit with Oakland Military Institute. I sat down with their, they have different positions that are different than what I'm used to, but their head of school, their commanding officer, since it is a military institution, and their mental health provider. They were able to show me the wellness center for which some of their funds are utilized, and it seemed like that was a very welcoming place for students to go and receive mental health services, but also a place where they can, decompress from stressors they may have from school or from that specific type of environment. It also seems like the person that is paid through that was competent and had a high level of skill, even though that position was new, and they did seem like they were still trying to figure out the best overall use of that position. Her status as maintaining the wellness center, I feel like, was that they had a good vision in place for the school.
Now for Elmhurst United Middle School, that was that I had visited, met with Principal Gonzalez there, with one of their RJ facilitators. They used the bulk of their funds to fund 3 RJ facilitators. This is a community that has voted on how to use G1 funds. They all voted for RJ facilitators, and it seems like based on the work there, they have helped to reduce suspensions and also reduce chronic absenteeism through the work directly with the students and the families. So very impressed with what they're doing there. Did not get to interact much with the arts integration consultant, but from what I've seen from the RJ facilitators, it seems like they've made a huge difference at the school and why they continue to vote for their G1 funds to be dedicated to those facilitators. Anyone here from Frick United, or anyone who's gone to Frick United for the visit October 10th?
That was me again. I was able to meet with the principal at Frick United. They were able to show me how the funds are used, partially for their community schools manager role, and the other part is used for a Spanish teacher. Both fall within the approved usage of Measure G1. The CSM specifically has a impressive leadership class that I was able to observe and was impressed with the young folks there. They had 2 representatives from that class that were able to speak to me about the different things that they were learning, the literacy component of the leadership class, and how they were working together to create a kindness campaign for the rest of the school based on a book they had read, and we're planning to invite students to see a movie that was kind of based on the book, and then be able to share their perspectives on how kindness can change the culture of a school. And in terms of the Spanish teacher, is definitely the funds were used for specifically the Spanish teacher. The only thing that I had seen was that the Spanish teacher was like a non-credentialed teacher at the time. And so it seemed like the different levels of Spanish capacity that the students had in that class was very mixed, and it seemed like she was very challenged to be able to address the different levels of Spanish of the different students that were in the class. But the principal assured me that that was something that they were working on, and they were trying to find other ways where they could create better opportunities for the different levels of Spanish students that they had in the class.
Very much for the report.
I guess I'll keep going. United for Success Academy. So I met with Principal Allen on October 10th. The funds are specifically used for a RJ coordinator who does Tier 2 and push-in, and also supports in Tier 1. That RJ coordinator also has a caseload where they provide wraparound services for specific Tier 2 students. That was the partial amount of the funds that were used for G1. The other 2 parts that I seen from the funds used for G1 was one for a music class. And when I went in there, they were not doing music, but they were learning about music through visual aids. So I felt like that was a large class and a lot of students were engaged. And the second class that it was used for is for a STEM computer coding class. And that class, I was particularly impressed with the instructor, the teacher in that class. The students were super engaged. They were coding away. It had about approximately 26 students in the class, and I felt it was one of I've seen lots of different models of coding for middle school students, and I've seen different levels of engagement for those students, but in this particular class, all the students were very eager and very engaged in the way that the instructor was presenting coding and providing opportunities for them to learn, and having it scaffolded so students could go further if they were more advanced, and the teacher can address helping students who needed more support.
Commissioner Mesa, next visit was with Aspire College Prep. Is there anyone here who attended that? Moving on to Claremont Middle School, this is a visit that I participated in with the principal briefly. They've used their G1 funds for an RJ facilitator, so I met with both of them. They actually established an RJ class that is populated with.
Chair, your mic's not on.
Sorry, Claremont Middle School, met with them December 16th or 17th. They've used their G1 funds for an RJ facilitator, met with them as well as the class that they have organized regarding, around restorative justice. So these are Claremont Middle School 8th graders who basically are assigned different classrooms. So they actually help organize programs. They organize events for these classrooms, school-wide and sometimes classroom, just specifically for the classroom. And they're basically school leaders that help them basically negotiate various issues that may come up between classmates in the classrooms. Yes. Oh, 7th grade as well? Okay, 7th grade as well. But yeah, it seemed like a very impressive program because they've gotten, they've empowered the students themselves to take leadership positions in their own schools and have it so that the 6th graders and 7th graders and 8th graders can approach their peers and see them as kind of role models in a way, to model behavior and how to, so it's not just adults who are telling them how to behave or how to resolve conflicts, but they can actually go to their own peers and figure out a way to work around or get through problems. So it seemed a very unique way to approach it, and I was impressed by the students' involvement and their commitment to the program. Moving on, Melrose leadership. Mr. Mesa, you and I were both there. You want to take the lead on that? No? All right. We met with the principal there. He's principal at Claremont. He was also at Chabot. Very impressive program. We talked much more about funding and how they're working with whatever they have. They have funded an extra Spanish teacher. They're paying extra for his time there to help more with schools during his, outside of his contract hours. So that's what they're using the G1, part of the G1 funds for. Yeah, it seemed like they're doing an excellent job there. Don't really have much more to add.
Yes, I agree. They were doing an excellent job there. Just wanted to highlight, they do seem like they have a unique situation in terms of like they're split between two campuses. With that, there's some other kind of budgetary concerns of how other schools may function. But I feel like with the small amount of money that they receive from G1, they are utilizing it in the best way possible. And so I was definitely impressed with the principal and his creative way of trying to figure out how to provide the most opportunities for students utilizing the money.
Moving on to Westlake Middle.
So I'm scheduled to do Westlake. It's had to be rescheduled 2 times, so I am working with Ms. Lozano on setting up a date for that.
All right, thank you. How about Aspire College Prep, March 4th?
I got to meet Dr. Brown at Aspire Golden State Prep Academy, and she was lovely. She and her staff were very welcoming. Currently, as we discussed a little bit earlier, they're using their G1 funds to fund an SSM, a student support manager, and really focuses on pushing in, pulling out kids, and handling, kind of building a positive culture, dealing with disciplinary issues. And so we talked about that person. They really like the SSM this year. It's been helpful. She did mention the suspension rates are starting to go down. They haven't had that an issue in the past. We talked about different situations, like substance abuse and different things that this staff member is trying to kind of curb and, get under control. In everything, all the problems that all middle schools have these days. So it was just interesting kind of hearing about the school. One of the benefits of having this SSM is they are the high school basketball coach as well. So kind of from a retention perspective, it's good to have, the kids already know someone, especially if they do go on to high school. Some of them do stay on for that, especially since they have limited sports offerings. We did talk about how they were going to shift their funding to a dean of students, kind of focus on more tier 2 situations. Again, continuing to try and bring down that suspension rate and really build a positive culture. So Dr. Brown was great. It was interesting to see kind of how she's using the funds, and she did walk me around school. I got to see a few classes just in action. Nothing like an art class or anything, but it was interesting just kind of seeing the kids interact. And then I also did get to meet the SSM while I was there, and he was very impressive as well. So anyway, it was great. It was really my first site visit. I was very excited. She's from the south suburbs of Chicago, so we had a lot in common. And we had ran in similar high school areas. And yeah, but it was a very productive visit.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Chan. Next, Kip Bridge Academy. This was a visit that I attended on March 5th with Principal Allen, Kip, Program Officer Sanchez, and also their mental health professional, Ms. Martin, sat in on a mental health services meeting. This is what they use their funding for, which is Ms. Martin's position. She helps facilitate and coordinate the mental health professionals. They have about 4 of them on site, and I was sitting in that meeting, and I was very impressed and slightly alarmed at how well and how invested mental health professionals are. I mean, they were bringing up specific individual children. They knew all about their family situations. They knew how to reach adults. They knew enough about the kids to know that, oh, this kid loves running, so let's set this kid up with another kid who also enjoys running so they could partner together. It was just the amount of coordination needed for that and the amount of work that they have to do and coordinating with the teachers, because they're not teachers there, they're just mental health professionals there, I thought was extraordinary given all that they have to do. So I was just very impressed with how they ran their organization and how they've brought attendance to the point where, I mean, they're looking at 93% attendance, which is kind of not to their standard yet, but they're getting there, and it's very impressive considering the attendance rates at other schools. So shout out to Principal Ellen and her entire team, Ms. Martin. They're doing a fantastic job, and they're getting at the root of the problem. The RJ is all embedded within their teaching, so it's all classroom-based. That's not what they're focused on for the mental health. They're trying to get at the source of the problem before it gets to behavior. So very impressed with what they're doing at KIT. That's all we have for the site visits. Now A voting item, so Mr. Hollis, can we move on to the next item?
Yes, just real quick, there are no public commenters for this item, Chair.
Very much. So moving on to the scheduling of school site visits, 24-1333B.
Ms. Karen, did you want to fill in on this item?
Yes, of course. Here you see the site visit calendar. So there are some site visits that we had to reschedule. This, on the time that I submitted this, there has been some changes. And there has been some confirmations of site visits. So if we can go to Oakland School for the Arts, we had to reschedule this site visit to March 17th. I have confirmed with Commissioner Mesa. So this one has been confirmed. The one that I want to confirm as well is for May 7th for Ascend Elementary. I will have to confirm with Commissioner Mesa as well. All the ones that Commissioner Christian was supposed to attend, I did remove from the site visit calendar. So in the updated one, you won't see his name there anymore. And then you will see that that I also take off the question marks once I confirm the commissioner's attendance. For Roosevelt Middle School, I do have a date here. By the time that I submitted this, I couldn't make that change anymore, but it is scheduled for May 2nd. So as well, I will have to confirm with Commissioner Mesa and his attendance to this site visit. Any questions?
No questions? Any questions from the commissioners?
No, just a thank you for all the coordinating and scheduling.
All right, Mr. Hollis, do I have any public comment on this item?
There are no public commenters for this item, Chair.
Bonds, are there any public comments on any non-agenda items?
There are no public comments on non-agenda items.
All right, do we have any new legislative matter any commissioner wants to introduce here? If so, then I believe we can adjourn. Thank you so much.
Just real quick, there's no public commenters on introduction of new legislative matters.
Okay. Thank you, sir. With that, I think we can adjourn. Thank you all commissioners, and thank you for all those attending. Adjourned.